What's going on, beach anglers? What is a Sputnik sinker? Is it necessary, and how do you use it? Today we're going to go over the benefits. There's really no downfall to the Sputnik, and a big debate in surf fishing. Are these just used for certain conditions, or can you use them 100% of the time? Let's jump right into it. What is a Sputnik sinker? The Sputnik has been around forever. I believe originally these guys were used a lot more out of country, not so big in the US. But I would say over the last 5 years, due to social media, weights like this have exploded in the US. If you scroll through any social media platform and you dig long enough, you are gonna find posts about Sputniks. Hashtags about Sputniks, companies that are producing these. I've seen them gain a lot of traction since around 2020. They were being used in the background for years. You saw a lot of homemade jobs. You saw like big major brands producing these, like Sea Striker and brands like that. You would find these at the tackle shop. 9 times out of 10, they weren't well made. They usually had like a little orange bead on them. They did the trick, but not well. Where their popularity exploded were small garage operations. Guys getting into the tackle business, buying molds of Sputniks, making them themselves. Some got popular, some didn't. But at the end of the day, a weight's a weight, right? Or is it? Let's take a look at our very popular pyramid sinker, which is used for surf fishing. That is your standard surf fishing weight, beach anglers. You look on any surf fisherman's cart, bucket, tackle box, whatever, you're gonna find these in there. They're cheap, they cost about $1. That butthole don't get tight when you lose them. It's a very disposable piece of tackle that we all go through. So you have the pyramid at $1, $1.50, and then you have the Sputnik at $5 to $6 a pop. I've seen some close to $7. Why is that same 3 ounces, 3 ounces and 3 ounces, why is that same 3 ounces so much more? It's the time that goes in to produce these guys. You're basically paying for labor. Same goes with pompano rigs. There is not a lot that goes in these pompano rigs as far as cost. What you're paying for, especially with the hand tie jobs, is the time it takes that angler to sit down and tie these rigs. That's a tedious job, guys. I've tried it. So I can understand why they're charging $6 a pop for a rig. So labor is why you're paying 3 or 4 times more for the same amount of material in a different shape. Adding these arms, adding these little rubber stoppers here, the tail, all that takes time, guys. So there's 3 major brands here in the Panhandle that are making Sputnik sinkers that I trust. Frisky Fins makes a great one, and to date, he is the only one making a 1 ounce. This little 1 ounce is a great tool I use for lighter action rods. When I want to use my whiting setups, I think they top out at like 1 ounce lure weight, and you have rougher current, you're not trying to strap on a 3 ounce pyramid. But what you can do is strap on a 1 ounce Sputnik and get away with that hold. Bird of Prey just released a Sputnik sinker, so that's hit the market. I've trusted all of Bird of Prey's products for years. And this one's super cool, I'll show you. You can actually fold up the arms into this little rubber piece so they're easier to transport and store. Brunken tattooed right there on the side of it. I tend to trust companies more when they put their name on the product. Frisky Fins is imprinted in there. Bird of Prey brands everything. It tells me that that manufacturer trusts their product enough to put their name on it. And then outside of the Panhandle in the east coast of Florida, you have Redfin Fishing. And I have fished all these on multiple trips for multiple years, guys. They all work, and I put my name behind all of them. But there's a certain element that sets Redfin apart. Not only is Redfin doing the standard longer tail, he does a short tail Sputnik, and he does this guy. Redfin has designed a Sputnik that will pop off of rocks easier, or any kind of structure. So for you jetty fishermen, the guys who are fishing around a bunch of rocks and structure, those jetties are in passes a lot of times, right? So you have strong current pumping out of the bay into the ocean, or vice versa, right? From the ocean, the Gulf, into the bay. So you want something that's gonna hold better, but also not get hung up. The pyramid has a great shape to get off rocks, guys. It can get stuck, obviously, like anything else, but the slanted shape does give it a little bit of advantage to maybe slide up and over those rocks and things like that. So Jason from Redfin has designed a Sputnik like that. You have this extra little tail here, so if you are down behind a rock and it's barricading you, you can play with that rod a little bit, jerk it around, and move this guy just enough so it'll hit that slant and pull off. And you might be asking me, Blaine, but what about all the arms? Aren't those gonna get caught? No, because these Spudniks are designed to pop. Those guys will pop under pressure. Now you have all this that's not only gonna come out of the sand, but also slide against any structure. This is a well thought out, great design, guys. I don't fish these here in the Panhandle because I'm not fishing rocks. We are some spoiled anglers here in the Panhandle, guys. We have pretty clean conditions. And this works with all the Spudniks. That's what the Spudnik is designed to do. You lock it down, you launch it out, you tighten up your line, everything catches. Then when it's time to reel it in, you put pressure, all that pops, pulls out of the sand. You got it on the beach, you get your fish off, you rebait, and then you just set this guy back. It pops right into those grooves, just like so. Launch it back out. Again, Brunken has made one with a super cool design that you can store, because you do fall into those situations, especially when you got a handful of these guys. You might have 4 3 ounces, 4 4 ounces, 5 2 ounces, a couple ones. That's a lot of weird shaped objects, heavy objects, to be storing on your beach cart, in your bucket. Like, where do you put these guys? I've seen numerous ways where guys transport these to and from the beach. What I did was my standard cutting board bait basket that came with my Fishing Mate Senior. Obviously this card is not in its original form, but I've always kept the bait basket and used it. And what I did was just drill out the holes and made them a little bit wider for these Spudniks to slide down in there. So I just line my cutting board with these Spudniks. That's how I get them to and from the beach. They fall out in the back of the truck and things like that, no big deal. I've seen guys use like shower rings, really anything that you can come up with to kind of keep these guys out of the way and organized will work. And what Redfin has done to set his product apart is, with those arms, there's an extra bend. When I first saw this, I didn't think much of it. Honestly, I thought he did it just to kind of separate his weights from the others on the shelves. He's the only one doing that, so if you're keen to the Spudnik game, you can look at a pile of Spudniks on a table and know which one are Redfin's. Also, they'll use different colors on the arms here to specify a certain ounce. So to give you an example, Frisky here, this is a 5 ounce. He uses reds. And then you got a Redfin here, 5 ounce, that's using blues. And they do this on purpose, guys. They're watching what the other guys do and try not to mimic that, just to set their product apart. That's all the colors mean on these weights. It's that simple. It's determining the weight of that Spudnik and the color of choosing from the manufacturer. So with that little extra bend that Redfin has done, he has created a Spudnik weight that is gonna hold about 1 ounce more than its intended purpose. What does that mean? This is a 3 ounce Spudnik Redfin weight, and because of that extra bend, it's gonna hold about like a 4. Why is that important? Rod specifications. It's really important, guys, to pay close attention to your rod specs. I think a lot of newer beach anglers totally miss this aspect. They're thinking, how much weight do I need today in these current conditions to hold my line? If it's a super rough day, they might strap on a 5 ounce weight, but the rod they're using might only be rated up to 2 ounces. So what's gonna happen? You're gonna break your rod, especially if you're putting that all in, butt out, deep cast on it. Very important to know your gear, guys. I can't stress this enough. So if I have a rod that I'm surf fishing with, it's rated up to 2 ounces. That's as much weight as I wanna strap onto it. Now, I have my rig and I have my bait, right? But for what we're doing as far as pompano fishing and whiting fishing and things like that, we're not using big baits, guys. So I wouldn't even include the rig and the bait into that equation. Just your actual lead that you're using. So if I got rough conditions, a rod that's rated up to 2 ounces, the most I want to strap on there is 2 ounces. And me personally, I never top my rods out. Like if I have a rod that's rated up to 6 ounce, the most I'm gonna throw on that guy is probably 4. A, I don't want to overstress my rod, and B, by hitting that midpoint, meaning if my rod is rated from 2 to 5 ounces, that 3 and 4 ounce lead weight range is going to make my rod perform at its peak. It's spined to handle that mid weight. And why is that important? Casting distance. You're going to get the best performance out of your rod for long distance casting if you're not maxing it out or underweighting it. I see that so often too, where these guys have these big rods which the lure weight capacity doesn't even start until 3 ounces. And they're putting tiny little 1 ounce pyramids on. Why? Because they don't need any more than that because it's flat out there. This is true, but you're not gonna get that rod to perform like you want it to. Always try to hit that midpoint with your lead, guys. So I got a rod that's rated up to 2 ounces. It's churning out there. I wanna fish that rod. I can use a 2 ounce Redfin Fishing Sputnik, and it's gonna hold about like a 3. So now I have a whole extra ounce to play with. That tiny little bend there is the better, stronger Redfin difference. And he does that for you guys, Jason the owner. He takes the time to put that little extra bend in there because he knows it's gonna benefit your fishing. And to top it, he keeps his Sputniks priced just like everybody else. He's not charging you for that extra time. Now, should the Sputnik weight be used for all conditions or just when you need it? That is 100% angler preference. Remember, $1.50, $6. When you lose one of these guys, it hurts. You lose this, not too bad. But having 3 or 4 of each size Sputnik that you're using for your area on hand at all times, for me, is a must. The Sputnik can be the difference between fishing and not fishing on certain days. You can have a strong current pull that you don't even see until you throw your line out there with your pyramid and your line's a half a mile down the beach. That's where the Sputnik comes in. Or here in the Panhandle, when we got those nice stiff south winds and it's churning out there, these pyramids are gonna move around. That's where the Sputnik comes in. I use them 100% of the time, and I'll tell you why. Running surf fishing trips, I'm constantly watching lines, watching rods. That's my job. When I throw a Sputnik out there, I get a rod tip bend and lock that's undeniable. I know that bait is where I want it, and I know it's holding. There are times when current will move that rod a little bit, but it's got to be strong. With a pyramid, what happens is you get a constant up and down on that rod tip. So if I have a spread of 5 rods and all of them are bouncing up and down, it's a lot harder for me to determine, is there a fish on there and it's running in, or is that the current? With the Sputnik, it's just gonna hold tight. That way, if I take a glance down my spread and I got 1 rod tip sticking up and the rest are bent, I know I got a fish on that rod and he's running in on me. It's just a quick way for me to determine if there's a fish on or not. I'm in the business of catching fish. My clients want to catch fish. I don't want to miss an opportunity because I'm brushing that rod tip movement off to the sinker popping in and out. I want it tight. So if you're a newer angler getting into this thing, pick you up some Spudnik weights, guys. Keep them on board. The investment up front hurts a little bit, but once you get the bulk, right, you get 3 or 4 in each ounce to kind of cover the rods that you got. Once that first big order is made, then you're just maintaining. You might lose one here and there, just replace it. I know a lot of anglers in my area that come by the shop, non-professional anglers, that they've made the Spudnik switch. That's all they use. They see the benefit of it. They like that rod tip bend that I was talking about. And once they made that big first purchase, it's not that much to maintain it. So ask yourself, how many rods am I running at one time surf fishing? And then I would buy 2 Spudnik sinkers in each ounce to cover those rods. So let's say you have a rod that's rated like a 1/2 ounce to 2 ounce. Pick you up 4 1-ouncers. Or maybe a 2 to 5 ounce rod. You can go 3 different sizes with that, right? You can go 2 ounce, 3 ounce, and 4 ounce. I wouldn't strap a 5 ounce on that rod because you're maxing it out. Remember, you want to stay just below. So for that 2 to 5 ounce rod, the 9-foot Real 38 Surf Pro is a great example. I think that guy's rated 2 to 5, great rod. You can fish 2s, 3s, and 4s on that. So pick you up 2 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. Why 2? In case you lose one. You don't want to just have one of each. A bluefish breaks you off and now you're stuck. You would have to retire that rod for the session until you can get to the tackle shop. And then as you lose them, because you will, just pick one up next time you're at the tackle shop to replace that stock. The Sputnik is a great tool, guys. I recommend it highly. I am a super fan of this product, and I lean hard towards Redfins. They just hold better. They're well made. You have different options. In my opinion, it's just a superior product. If you guys want to get your hands on some of those Sputniks, you can use the companies I mentioned today. All their links and websites are in the description of this video, along with promo codes. If you're interested in ordering bulk from Redfin, reach out to me. I can probably get you a discount. And I want to take a moment just to thank you for hanging in there for the whole video. There's a lot of work that goes into these videos, guys, and we appreciate you so much for hanging in for the whole thing. And for you guys that have stuck around, I am putting together a subscription service for followers just like you. These videos are completely behind the scenes, and I'm going to release these videos to the subscription base in between my regular uploads. Behind the scenes stuff, guys, what goes into content creation, running a surf fishing guide, my family life. You will have a deep dive into my day-to-day operations. These will be great videos for you guys that have followed along from the beginning or are a new follower that's really interested in the channel and what we're doing. Basically, I'll have the cameras on from when I wake up to when I go to bed, showing you guys what goes on day to day here at Perdido Bland Outfitters. Also, this is a deep dive into content creation and running surf fishing guides. So if this is something that you're interested in and you're looking to get into this kind of stuff yourself, this is a behind the scenes look of what goes on. You'll really get to see the grind Marty and I put forth every 24 hours. So stay tuned for information on that. It will be here on YouTube. And once you become a member of that subscription base, you'll be the only ones that see that video, and there will be special offers tacked in there also. New releases on tackle, behind the scenes stuff that I'm working on, what goes into running these tournaments. You'll get to see all that stuff, guys. It'll be my daily blog. Thanks again for sticking around, guys. Give us a thumbs up and check and see if you have subscribed, and if you have not, it helps a lot. I'll see you guys on the next one.